You see this circle with a line through it? Yep. I found out what this means, and it blew my mind. So basically, it's the film indicator. This is the film plane indicator. Rangefinder, by the way, it's got it. SLR, it's got it. Digital camera, yep, it's got it. Blew my mind. Every camera pretty much that I've got has it. And it basically is there to help you get super accurate distances. Let me know in the comments if you knew that, because I didn't, and it blew my mind. Fujifilm Neopan 400, that is why you're here. So I will get straight to the action. I shot it at 200 ISO as it was expired 10 years ago. I bought 10 rolls of this for 100 quid on eBay, which I'm glad I did because the results are quite nice. I don't want to give away too much, but they're quite nice and I love the film stock. I will go into more information on this, but like I said, we're going to jump straight into the action pretty quickly. I use the Minolta X-700. I love this camera. I'm a little bit limited on it because I've only got a 50mm lens, but the light meter is spot on in here. And although I will manually expose 9 times out of 10, it does make my life easier, being able to sort of get an indicator from the camera, especially when you're shooting street photography.
Go.
A strong finish to the first half of this roller film. I love this image. I love the light coming across the posters. Obviously, I think it's Paris Hilton, and she's got this cool look, her eyes looking directly at the camera, and then you've got the nice movement going through the frame. Now, I'm not gonna look at every single photo from this roller film. I just wanna give you a flavor of what it's like, how it comes out, the grain and all that good stuff. So let's focus on this image firstly, which I absolutely love. As I wrote up on the video, I'd noticed this shot might look quite cool before, so I thought that I would bear this in mind next time I was shooting. I was very lucky that the subject was standing pretty much perfectly next to the Chinese writing. He's quite a cool character. Obviously he's wearing black, which looks cool against the white of the wall, and then he's obviously got this cigarette in the mouth. And this is a great example of how good this film stock is. If you punch in, it's mega sharp. The grain is beautiful. Even though it's an expired film, it still holds up really well. Beautifully contrast, lovely tonality. So yeah, these are definitely, this is definitely a good example of what this film stock can do. Next up is this image where you've got a frame within a frame of the subject through the middle, and then you've got a little bit of sort of steamy window effect here, which kind of adds a little bit more of the distortion to it. It's one of my favorite images on the roll for sure. We'll look at two more. We'll look at this one more because I want to point out that sometimes you need to keep your head on a swivel when shooting. Look up, look down, rub behind you, make sure you don't miss the key details. This is quite a cool little detail. And again, if you punch right in, you can see how sharp this film stock is. It's absolutely beautiful. And again, you can see the grain. It's just, in my opinion, perfect. And lastly, for this roller film, one of my favorite images on the whole roll, obviously this is just the first half, is this image here. Again, you've got the nice sort of frame of the outside of two dark shapes. And then obviously you've got this dude in the middle with this cool hat on. I've gone from a slightly low to high angle, so I've come down a bit to shoot up, and then that means that you can kind of see the Chinese lanterns in Chinatown. Understand what Neopan is, we're going to take a quick tour through Fujifilm's black and white past. The Neopan line actually began in 1952 with Neopan SS, a fine grain black and white film made in response to growing demand for amateur and journalistic photography. Over time, Fujifilm released Neopan 400. In 1978 to be precise, they also released a high-speed 1600 Neopan, which I think we all wish was still around today. The most celebrated of them was Neopan ACROS 100, launched in around 2000. It became loved for its ultra-fine grain, deep blacks, and unusually good reciprocity behaviour, meaning it tolerated long exposures quite well. But in 2018, citing difficulties to get raw materials, Fujifilm discontinued all of their black and white film stocks. The good news, in late 2019, Fujifilm reintroduced a reformulated version under the name Neopan ACROS 100 II. And while it was very close to the original, it is said to have slightly sharper graduation in the highlights. So when you shoot expired Neopan today, you're shooting something that has almost 70 years of lineage, a film that's almost been lost to time. So the second half of the roll wasn't quite as strong as the first half, slightly less images, granted, but just generally speaking, overall, I wasn't quite as happy with it. But I did quite like this image here. Now, trying to use a slow shutter whilst keeping the background stable and getting a subject moving through is always a tricky sort of balancing act. Got my left eye open. I'm trying to see the guy coming across, and I probably mistimed it by obviously probably less than half a second, probably less than that even. But the way it's come out is actually really cool because you can still see the main character who's reading his book behind, but you're almost half blocked out by this subject coming across, and I was actually really happy with that. I actually went back here and retook this scene landscape because I thought it would be better, and I was right. However, although I like the image, the background is quite soft where you've got this natural motion blur where I've obviously been using a low shutter speed. Probably could have used a slightly faster shutter speed, but the actual result isn't too bad. The next good image is where I'm shooting a couple of images actually, where I'm shooting through a car window. Generally speaking, it's a nice shot to get anyway because it's really nicely framed, and if you can get a good subject and on film, if you can get it in focus, then you're onto a bit of a winner. I had some really nice light coming through the window as well for this first image. And although she's not the strongest subject, I do like the reflections here. It does create a quite nice distortion and a little bit of a different sort of image. And then a similar effect, we've got this image here with the dude in the cap. I also like the fact the light is superb. You've got some reflections along the bottom where it's very dark. And then you've also got the subject behind the pole, sort of just about catching the frame, which I also really like. So before I break down which images I'm going to keep, post and print, let's very quickly talk about Neopan 400. You've seen the images, you get your own vibe from them, your own feel. Now, I got these images back, and obviously with expired film, you just don't know how they're going to look. And I was so happy with the results, I can't lie. I love how sharp they are, but they still have that little bit of grain, whether that's maybe enhanced because it's expired film, but it just feels really nice. It has a classic look that maybe isn't that easy to get nowadays with more modern black and white film stock. So I'm very glad I've still got 8 more rolls of film to shoot. But yeah, without further ado, these are the images that I would keep. So 35 images here. Obviously, I'm not going to run through them individually because there's just too many, and this is already a bit longer than I was already planning this video to be. These are the images I would post. There's 28 here. I was actually really happy, to be honest, with this roll of film. Although there was only a few that I really liked, there was a lot of strong images that I would be quite happy to post on social media. And if you do want to check out those images, you can see them on NJM Flicks. The link is in the description. And these are the 3 images I would print. I actually really love all 3 of these images. I know that I talked about them before, so I won't go into too much detail, but I was really happy with all 3 of them. And they were definitely my favourite from the roll of film. Now, even though Fujifilm Neopan 400 isn't made anymore, there are a few modern day equivalents that may come pretty close. Firstly, starting off with ACROS II, which we talked about earlier. You've also got Ilford Delta 100, which is a fine grain film. It's a little warmer in tone and has a touch more visible grain. You get a softer transition in the highlights, which can make portraits or overcast scenes feel really natural. You also have Kodak T-Max 100. Although I've not shot this film, it's another tubular grain film that's super sharp and clean. It leans cooler, more neutral, and handles high contrast scenes really well. But compared to Neopan, it sometimes can feel a little bit more clinical, less of that smooth tonal roll-off that Fujifilm managed to pull off. All 3 of those film stocks have their strength. Obviously, if you want to create the Neopan look, the best thing you can do is shoot another Neopan film. So ACROS 100 is probably your best bet. However, it is obviously a slower speed film. If you can, try and get hold of some of these on the internet. These are 2014. They've been obviously well kept, and they handled being over a decade old very well. And that is your lot, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It does mean so much to me that you got this far. If you did, make sure you hit that like button because it does help the videos. And also make sure you consider subscribing because there's plenty more videos to come just like this Neopan video. And if you do want to see any specific film stocks shot, please let me know because I'm happy to shoot them, give them a try, even if they are 10 years expired. Until the next one, guys, peace.
Hey.